I've always been the kind of guy who laughs at horror movies. Ghosts? Demons? Nah, not for me. I was the skeptic, the one who didn't believe in any of that paranormal crap. But that was before last summer. Before the night that changed everything. It was a Friday night, and me and my friends, Dave, Jessica, and Mike were just hanging out at Dave's place. We were all bored out of our minds, scrolling through Netflix, trying to find something to watch. Nothing was catching our eye, and that's when Jessica spoke up. "Hey, I've got an idea," she said, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. "Why don't we try a Ouija board?" I laughed, thinking she was joking. But when she pulled out the board from her bag, I realized she was dead serious. The thing looked ancient, like something out of a horror movie itself. It was a wooden board with the alphabet and numbers carved into it, along with the words yes, no, and goodbye. "Jess, where the hell did you get that?" I asked, eyeing the board with a mix of curiosity and unease. "Found it at a flea market," she replied, brushing off my concern. "The guy who sold it to me said it was real, like from the 1800s or something." Mike snorted. "You really believe in that stuff?" Jessica shrugged. "I don't know, but it could be fun, right? Besides, what's the worst that could happen?" Dave, always up for anything, was already clearing the coffee table. "Let's do it. I mean, it's just a game." I hesitated. The whole thing felt wrong, like we were about to mess with something we shouldn't. But I didn't want to be the buzzkill. So, reluctantly, I sat down with them around the table. Jessica explained the rules. Not that there were many. We all had to put our fingers on the planchette, the little pointer thing, and ask questions. The planchette was supposed to move on its own, spelling out answers. Easy enough, right? We dimmed the lights, and Jess lit a couple of candles, setting the mood. The flickering light cast eerie shadows across the room, making everything feel even creepier. "Okay, everyone ready?" Jess asked, placing her fingers on the planchette. We all followed suit. "What should we ask first?" Mike asked, trying to sound casual, but failing miserably. Jess thought for a moment before speaking up. "Is there anyone here with us?" We waited. At first, nothing happened, and I felt a wave of relief. Maybe this was just a load of crap after all. But then, ever so slowly, the planchette began to move. "Are you guys doing that?" I asked, glancing around the table. "Nah, man," Dave said, his voice tight. "I'm not even pressing that hard." The planchette slid across the board, spelling out the word yes. A nervous chuckle escaped my lips. "Okay, very funny, Jess." But she looked just as freaked out as the rest of us. "It's not me, I swear." "Yeah, right," Mike scoffed, but his hand trembled slightly. Jess, ever the fearless one, pressed on. "What's your name?" Again, the planchette moved. It spelled out Sam. "Sam?" Dave repeated, a frown forming on his face. "That's a pretty normal name for a ghost." "Maybe he was a normal guy," Jess said with a shrug. "How did you die, Sam?" This time, the planchette paused, as if considering the question. Then it started moving again, faster this time. "Murder." My heart skipped a beat. This was getting too weird. "All right, guys, let's stop messing around." "No way," Jess said, her eyes wide with a mix of excitement and fear. "We're just getting started." "Sam, who murdered you?" For a long moment, nothing happened. I almost thought the board was done with us. But then the planchette moved again, this time slower, almost hesitant. "Emmy." A cold chill ran down my spine. "Wait, what? Are you saying you murdered yourself?" The planchette didn't move. It just stayed there, hovering over the letter E. "Okay, that's enough," I said, pulling my hands away. "This isn't funny anymore." "Yeah, man, I'm with you," Mike agreed, quickly following my lead. But Jess was stubborn. "Come on, don't be scared. It's just a game." "Jess, seriously," Dave said, looking pale. "Let's put it away." She sighed but finally relented. We all sat back, a tense silence hanging in the air. The candles flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally. "I think we should have said goodbye," Dave muttered, breaking the silence. "Why?" Mike asked, clearly eager to move on from the whole thing. "Isn't that the rule? You have to say goodbye, or you, leave the spirit hanging." Jess waved him off. "It's just a dumb rule. It's not like it matters." But as she said that, the candles suddenly went out. All of them, at once. we were plunged into darkness. The only light came from the faint glow of the street lamp outside the window. My heart pounded in my chest, and I could hear everyone else's breathing, shallow and quick. Did anyone else feel that? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Feel what? Mike replied, though I could hear the tremor in his voice. Cold, I said, shivering despite the warm summer night. It just got really cold. As if on cue, a sudden gust of wind blew through the room, rattling the windows. The Ouija board clattered to the floor, making us all jump. That's it, Jess said, her bravado gone. I'm done. We're done. She hurried to pick up the board, but as she reached for it, something strange happened. The planchette slid across the board on its own, faster than it had before, spelling out one last word. Are you in? We didn't need to be told twice. The four of us bolted out of the room, not caring about the board or the candles or anything else. We piled into Dave's car, and he floored it out of there, not even looking back. We didn't talk much on the way to Jessica's place. What was there to say? We were all thinking the same thing. Something had happened back there, something we couldn't explain, and none of us wanted to admit it, but we were scared, terrified actually. When we got to Jess's, we all sat in the living room, still in shock. What the hell just happened? Mike finally asked. Maybe it was a prank, Dave suggested, though he didn't sound convinced. Who would have pranked us? I shot back. We were all there. Jess sat quietly, staring at the floor. I think we might have actually contacted something. No way, Mike said, shaking his head. That stuff's not real. Then how do you explain what happened? Jess asked, her voice trembling. None of us had an answer. We just sat there, the tension thick in the air. Finally, Dave spoke up. Maybe we should just forget about it. Chalk it up to, I don't know, mass hysteria or something. Yeah, I agreed, though deep down I knew I wouldn't be able to forget it. Let's just forget it. We all tried to go back to normal after that. But something had changed. I started having nightmares, dark, twisted dreams where I was back in that room with the Ouija board. In every dream, the board would spell out the same word, run. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But then weird stuff started happening around my apartment. Doors would open and close on their own, lights would flicker, and I kept hearing this faint tapping sound like someone was knocking. At first, I thought it was just the old building creaking, but the tapping always seemed to happen at the same time, just after midnight. It would start softly, then gradually get louder, more insistent. And no matter where I was in the apartment, it always sounded like it was coming from just behind me. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling when the tapping started again. Louder this time, almost like it was right in my ear. I sat up, heart racing, and grabbed the baseball bat I kept by my bed. Who's there? I called out, my voice shaking. Show yourself. The tapping stopped. Silence filled the room, heavy and oppressive. I was about to lie back down when I heard it again, but this time it wasn't tapping. It was a whisper. Run. I bolted out of bed, not even caring that I was in my boxers. I ran out of the apartment, down the stairs, and out into the street. I didn't stop running until I reached Dave's place, pounding on his door like a madman. He opened the door, bleary-eyed and confused. Dude, what the hell? Let me in, I gasped, pushing past him. Something's in my apartment, man. He didn't ask any questions, just let me crash on his couch. But the next morning, when I told him what happened, he got that same pale look on his face. You're not the only one, he said quietly. Turns out Jess and Mike had both been experiencing weird stuff too. Jess kept seeing shadows out of the corner of her eye, and Mike swore he'd heard someone calling his name when he was home alone. We decided to meet up and figure out what to do. Maybe it was all in our heads, some kind of shared psychosis from messing with that board. But deep down, we knew better. When we got together at Jess's place, the atmosphere was tense. None of us had slept well, and we all looked like crap. Jess had bags under her eyes, Mike was jumpy, and Dave kept glancing around the room like he expected something to jump out at him. We need to figure this out, Jess said, her voice shaky. We need to fix it. How? Mike asked, his voice laced with panic. What do we do? We can't just ignore it. Dave cleared his throat. I looked it up online. Some people say you have to close the session properly, like say goodbye or burn the board or something. I shivered. The thought of touching that board again made my skin crawl. But what choice did we have? We agreed to meet back at Dave's place, where the board still was. None of us wanted to be alone, so we all piled into Dave's car and drove over together. The closer we got, the more anxious I felt. It was like something was pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. When we got there, the place felt different. The air was thick and heavy, and the whole house seemed darker somehow, even though it was broad daylight. The board was still on the coffee table, right where we'd left it. "All right," Dave said, taking a deep breath. "Let's just get this over with." We sat down around the table, our hands hovering over the planchette. Jess lit a single candle, the flame flickering wildly as if it could sense our fear. "Okay," Jess said, her voice steady despite the tension. "Let's ask it to leave." We placed our fingers on the planchette and Jess spoke. "Sam, if you're still here, we're asking you to leave. We're sorry we disturbed you. Please, go back where you came from." At first, nothing happened. We all sat there, holding our breath, waiting. Then, slowly, the planchette started to move. It spelled out GODBY. As soon as it finished, the candle went out. We all jumped, but this time, there was no feeling of dread, no cold chill in the air. It was like a weight had been lifted. "Did it work?" Mike asked, looking around nervously. "I think so," Jess said, though she didn't sound entirely convinced. We decided to burn the board, just to be safe. We took it out to the backyard, doused it in lighter fluid, and set it on fire. As the flames consumed the wood, I felt a strange sense of relief. Maybe this was the end of it. We stayed together that night, none of us wanting to be alone. But nothing happened. No strange noises, no shadows, nothing. It was like the whole thing had never happened. The next morning, I went back to my apartment, half expecting the tapping to start up again. But the place was quiet, peaceful even. Whatever had been haunting us was gone. We never talked about it again after that. It was like some unspoken agreement between us. We went back to our normal lives, trying to forget the whole thing. But every now and then, I catch myself glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see a shadow or hear a faint tapping sound. I don't laugh at horror movies anymore. Not after what happened. I used to think ghosts and spirits were just stories, things made up to scare people. But now I know better. Some things are real. Some things shouldn't be messed with. And I'll never go near a Ouija board again.